Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is produced in cooperation with the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design.
Welcome to Arts Weekly. I'm Melinda Haines of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. In the second half of the show, I'll be joined by Tom Hoffrichter and Kate Black to learn all about Driving Miss Daisy, opening at First Presbyterian Theater next week. But first, I'm joined by fiber artist Sara Nordling. Beginning January 13th in the IPFW Visual Arts Gallery, Sara will show a wide variety of woven work, including a collection of large horizontal and vertical woven pleats. These will be complemented by woven structures where the texture and play of light in and throughout the pieces are the primary focus. Sara received her MFA in textiles from Indiana University Bloomington and is an adjunct faculty member in the IPFW Department of Fine Arts. Welcome, Sara.
Thanks.
You know, I was wondering if we could start by talking about how you got into weaving. I mean, you're an artist in general, but then you learned about weaving how and when.
Well, I was always interested in textiles since a wee little kid. My Barbies had more wardrobe than playtime.
Than the other girls.
Yes. But I had a totally other career, and a friend of mine just said, hey, let's come take this textile thing. Let's learn to spin. And then
was that still in high school or in college?
No, that was actually out of college. I was working a job, and she just wanted me to take a Saturday class, and these people were also weavers. And it was no turning back.
Right.
I took the class, bought loom. Even after moving, I just kept doing that, and then decided finally to go back and get my BFA in studio art, and then my MFA.
Wow! So you started with the spinning,
yes.
And then the weaving just comes on as a natural consequence of that.
Oh, or a tangential, or actually it's taken over more than the than the spinning has now. So,
are there different sizes of looms that you use, or do you have one? Explain how that works.
Many. I have from a very small tabletop ones to. The biggest one I have is as large as a 4-poster bed and is computer assisted. So
does it have its own room?
It has its own room, yes. It does. It has its own room, and the computer just stores all my pattern programming.
I see.
I actually still have to physically do everything.
Are the other looms then manually operated?
They're a lot more manually controlled, yes.
Did you start with the smallest one and move up?
I start with medium-sized and went up and both up and down from there.
Okay. Now, because what you create on these looms, these different pieces, kind of tell me how you create them. How do you start?
To start, I start with mostly a pile of cones of white threads.
Okay. And
after the planning and scheming and designing stage, then I have to measure out all these yarns, and I dye most of all what I do.
Okay, and so are some of these actual threads and some are yarns different thicknesses and weights?
They range anywhere from sewing thread up to something that is close to a yarn, but I deal in general with rather thin threads.
Okay.
Anywhere ranging from several hundred up to several thousand across in any different given piece. They all have to be measured out, dyed, weighed, so I get the right amount of dye things in them. Then they all get threaded on the loom one by one, in individual orders, so that I can have the patterns that I would like to have.
This is a long process.
It's a long process.
So some of these pieces that we've been showing here on the screen, how long does it take to create? You know, I don't know that there's a typical
on average,
one.
No, on average, it takes the better part of a month of working on it consistently, not just, oh, in the evening I think I'll go weave for an hour. No, it's as much time as I can put into it for a solid month will.
And there's design process in this.
This design.
Because you teach drawing and painting at
I teach
IPFW.
drawing, and design.
And design. So those are skills that you have to use first of all.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
For the color is very tied in with like the painting classes I do in teaching the color theory. The design is how do you place the colors where would I put my stripes, where would I put the surface elements to make sure that that's balanced and cohesive. It all ties into the things that I teach the students.
So your design is all drawn out first, and then you figure out how you're going to weave that. How do you do that?
Well, now they happen more almost like simultaneously.
Yeah, okay.
It's a both and process because I can visualize in my head pretty much the structures, having dealt with them as long as I have.
Right.
I can visualize pretty much what this is going to look like, and then I still, not that I don't have pleasant surprises along the way, but I do manipulate then and do the processes all along the way. And I forgot where we were at here.
Oh, that's okay. We are the works that you have.
Yes.
Most of them are fairly large.
Yes.
I mean, several
they
feet.
range 6 to 8 feet in general for the width of a horizontal piece.
And is that as wide as you can go on your
That's
loom?
actually with the length what I'm weaving.
Oh, okay.
When I wove them, they're all turned sideways.
I see.
And I plan out colors, and I plan out that they're going to have these pleats, and their pleats will be, you know, top, bottom, middle, or all the way across. But how high each one goes and the spacing of them, that happens while I weave.
Yeah, because when you look at some of these, like what we have up here on the screen now, you think, oh, you must sew that in afterwards. You
No.
must fold the finished fabric into that, but you don't. I mean,
That's all occurring in the weaving process.
Wow.
In the weave itself, very little, if anything, is done afterwards, other than a little hem on the end to keep, you know, to keep the edges looking neat. It's all done in the process of the weaving, and those are put in. And I purposely don't plan like, oh, now I'm an inch, and then I will do one, and now another, you know, to give it something that keeps me interested. Because once I get them on the loom, it takes quite a while, hours upon hours. Sometimes they weave at the rate of 2 inches an hour.
Wow.
And so to keep me interested, I leave that planning for while I'm weaving.
While you're actually weaving. Can you ever rip it out and start over, or is that an impossible
You can back
process?
up, but that's sometimes harder than just dealing with the mistake, you know, and living with it.
Now, and these pieces that you have, they're all so colorful and beautiful. But these colors, that's a part of your process too. You're dyeing the threads yourself.
They start out generally as all white threads. Even a lot of the blacks that you see are all
I mean that
dyed down. Yeah,
that
those,
piece up there is just so multicolored. Now, you said you are weaving the length or the width?
So it goes, what I see is like a crosswise section of it.
Okay.
And so the bumps will come up in front of me in the weaving process.
Okay. That's how you put them in. That's just, it's just mind-boggling how you can get those little pleats and parts in there.
And to think of it turned sideways.
Wow. So you've got months and months on these. So this exhibit that is at IPFW Visual Arts Gallery, it's opening on the 13th of January. How long did it take you to create all these pieces? You've probably got dozens of pieces in the exhibit.
There are, and most all of them were done within the last 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
A few of them are a few earlier pieces that just color-wise, theme-wise, fit into the show. But otherwise, most of them were done in the last 3 to 4 years. It's been a busy 3 to 4 years.
Well, and these pieces, we were talking a little bit about the color, but there's so much detail in them.
Yes.
Some of these pictures we're showing, they've got a close-up and then kind of a stand back. Tell me about the importance of that minute detail.
Well, I like my pieces to be like a multi-read kind of format. Up close, you start to see how the interlacement takes place, where the colors are coming, what was happening individually on them. And they're large also, so you can step back and just see them as the overall design. to have the impact. Where if everything was small, there are a few small pieces in the show, but if everything was small, you'd only get them on that intimate level. You'd only see the thread by thread, and you wouldn't be able to step back and see the overall impact of what just the color and the, the striping or whatever will do for the image.
So what do you think that people will either learn or come to understand by looking at all these pieces together?
Well, it'll be on multiple levels. Some will just come and appreciate color and maybe be in awe of the fact that these took so long to do.
Right.
Some others might appreciate the commitment into that, the tactile quality of textiles in themselves.
I think we really would want to try to reach out and touch.
There's always that temptation, but it's a
not,
gallery.
Yeah, that's right. Not allowed
no
to touch.
touching in the gallery. Yes.
Now, the exhibit is entitled Inquiry.
Yes.
How did you come up with that, or what does that mean for each of these pieces?
What it means in general for me is every work that I make has an inquiry of some sort. I was asked to kind of come up with a sentence for each work, and they all ended up to me becoming questions. What question was I answering? What was I exploring when I did this? What was it I wanted to see if I could do or see if I could accomplish? What if I tried, or what if I did, or what would that happen? And so every one of them, for me, is a personal inquiry of some sort to experiment, to push my boundaries, to see where I could go with this. And then from there, the title just kind of came naturally, that the show would be called Inquiry.
Well, I'm looking forward to that exhibit opening. Now, and it's opening again when?
It opens on the 13th.
Of January. And you have an opening artist reception,
yes,
too.
Artist reception on the Thursday night, the 16th, from 5 to 7.
5 to 7. And what happens at that opening reception?
Well, we gather. You get to meet me.
Yeah.
I get to answer individual questions that you might have about the work and explain some of the things and unless you catch me running through on any given day, you would not get that sort of a chance to be able to
learn about the detail.
Right.
Well, great. Well, I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for being here. When we return, we'll learn what's happening on the set of Driving Miss Daisy at First Presbyterian Theater. So please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area. We'll be right back with Kate Black and Tom Hoffrichter.